Okay, so let's dive into one of the most incredible origin stories ever told. A tale of survival against all odds, taken straight from the book of Exodus. We're talking about the early life of Moses.
I mean, that's the central question here, isn't it? The story is just packed with insane risk, a hidden identity, and a fate that's literally hanging by a thread from the very first moment. All right, so our story kicks off during a really terrifying time for a Hebrew family from the tribe of Levi. They've just had a son, and, well, thanks to Pharaoh's new decree, that's a death sentence. For 3 whole months, his mom manages to hide him. Can you even imagine the stress? But she knows time's running out. The text makes a point of saying she saw he was a beautiful child, and that pure, simple love made it impossible for her to just obey the king's horrific command. So when hiding him just isn't an option anymore, she comes up with this incredibly desperate but totally brilliant plan. She takes a simple reed basket and basically turns it into a tiny little ark, a vessel of hope. She meticulously seals it up to make it waterproof, and then she places her son in the Nile. And as that little basket floats among the reeds, his older sister watches from a distance. She's standing guard, the silent protector of his fate, just waiting to see what on earth is going to happen to her baby brother. And then the basket is found, and you'll never guess by who. It's the daughter of the very Pharaoh who ordered all the Hebrew boys to be killed. I mean, you can't make the stuff up. The tension in that moment must have been absolutely off the charts. She opens it, and inside is this tiny, weeping baby. The story says she had compassion on him. She knew right away who he was, a Hebrew child. But her first reaction wasn't to follow her father's cruel law. It was just this powerful human wave of empathy. Now, this is where his sister makes her move. Seeing her chance, she boldly steps out of hiding and comes up with a proposal that changes everything. She cleverly asks, "Hey, should I go find a Hebrew woman to nurse the baby for you?" And to her relief, Pharaoh's daughter says, yes. It's just an incredible moment of bravery and quick thinking. And in this wild twist of fate, the woman she finds is the baby's own mother. So she actually gets paid to nurse her own son. When he gets older, he's brought back to Pharaoh's daughter, who officially adopts him. And the name she gives him is so important, Moses, or Moshe in Hebrew, which means drawn out, because, as she says, I drew him out of the water. His name is literally his rescue story. Okay, let's fast forward a few years. Moses is a grown man now, living the life of an Egyptian prince. But he has not forgotten where he came from. And this creates this deep, deep conflict inside him. Think about it. He's a man living with a foot in two completely different worlds. On one hand, he's got all the luxury of the palace, but on the other, he can't ignore the brutal suffering of his own people, the Hebrews. He's constantly torn between the life he lives and the life he was born into. Well, one day, this simmering conflict just explodes. He sees an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating a Hebrew slave. And in a flash of rage, he makes a choice that he can never, ever take back. He glances around, sees that no one's watching, and he kills the Egyptian, burying his body in the sand. Now, he probably thinks he got away with it, but the very next day, he finds out his secret is anything but safe. He tries to break up a fight between two Hebrews, and one of them just turns on him and throws his own crime right back in his face with that stunning question. And boom, that's it. That one question confirms his absolute worst fear. The secret is out. And that single moment, Moses knows his life as a prince of Egypt is completely over. Sure enough, word gets back to Pharaoh, who of course wants Moses dead. So the prince is now a fugitive, and he has to flee for his life, running out into the desert. He escapes into the massive, empty land of Midian. He's been stripped of everything: his title, his wealth, his home. And his journey from palace royalty to a refugee in the desert ends where so many desert journeys do, at a well. And right there, at the well, that core part of his character, that sense of justice, comes right back to the surface. He sees some local shepherds bullying a group of women, trying to chase them away from the water. Moses doesn't even hesitate. He steps in, defends them, and then waters their flock for them. And this one single act of kindness ends up earning him a place to belong. When the daughters get home early and tell their father Reuel what happened, he's like, "What? Why did you leave him out there? Go invite him for a meal." So Moses actually finds a new life there. He marries one of the daughters, a woman named Zipporah, and they have a son. The name he chooses, Gershom, is just so telling.
It means a stranger there, because as Moses himself says, I have been a stranger in a foreign land. His new life is built on the memory of being in exile.
But here's the thing. While Moses is building this new family, this new life out in exile, the situation for his people back in Egypt is getting so much worse. The old Pharaoh dies, but that doesn't bring any relief. In fact, things only get worse for the Israelites. Their suffering becomes so intense that their collective groan, their cry of pure anguish, finally rises all the way up to God. And the text is super clear about what happens next. God heard them, God remembered his promises, God looked down and saw their pain. And this is what sets the stage for everything that's about to happen. You have a leader in hiding, a nation at its breaking point, and a divine promise that's just been waiting. So the big question now is, what happens when God finally decides to step in and act? This is where the story really begins.